Dang it, I can't find that webinar link. Man, oh well, guess I won't watch it. What's up guys, Jason here, and welcome to episode 14 of Building an Online Business from Scratch, where I'm taking you from A to Z of building a profitable online consulting practice, starting from complete scratch with all of you guys and gals watching, and hopefully I don't fall on my face, right? So in today's episode, we're going to talk about the webinar indoctrination sequence, or what I like to call the webinar rapport sequence, because us marketers, we got a name for everything, right? So I'm going to call it the webinar rapport sequence. It can be the indoctrination sequence. You could just call it pre-webinar emails if you wanted to be plain Jane. That's okay too. But anyway, in this episode, I'm going to walk you through the 7 emails you should have before someone shows up to your webinar. So we're going to talk about the value emails you should provide to boost your webinar attendance rate so people actually remember you and want to show up, to reinforce their decision to show up to your webinar. And then we'll talk about how to ensure that we remind people to actually show up to the webinar, without bombarding their phones and email with, hey, the webinar is in 5 minutes. Hey, the webinar is in 2 minutes. Hey, the webinar is live. Hey, the webinar, started 15 minutes ago, because we all don't want that. So where's that balance between making sure we stay in the forefront of our attendees' minds leading up to the webinar without coming across as needy or clingy? So as usual, if you're just joining me for the first time, I'm going to dive into my OneNote file here, and I'm going to walk you through those 7 emails that you should have to get your webinar registrants to show up to the webinar. And then I'll go through some examples of the emails that I have set up for the webinar I will be doing. So let's dive in. We're now looking at my OneNote file here, and I want to go over first the 7 emails that you'll want to send out. So the goal of these 7 emails is twofold. Number 1, it's to validate your registrant's decision to show up for the webinar and sign up for the webinar. And number 2, it's to keep you on their radar. Because as you all know, your registrants are getting lots of emails. I mean, I have friends that have like 3,000 unread emails or something crazy like that. Who knows how many webinar registration links are in there that they never wound up clicking on. So we want to make sure that our registrants remember who we are, and whether they're registering for a webinar the same day or they're registering for it a few days out, I think the most I'm going to do is 48 hours. I think after 48 hours, you're in for a tough battle staying in front of them without bombarding them too much with emails or having to create this really long sequence leading up to the webinar. You can do that, but I think 24 or 48 hours is a good window to at least build some sort of excitement around what the webinar is going to be without losing excitement in terms of, oh yeah, I signed up for that like a week ago. I don't really care anymore. It's kind of like you want to sell when the red shirt's on. So the closer you can get that webinar to when they signed up, the more likely they're probably going to show up, because they're not going to get distracted with this thing called life. So I think that's enough on the goal of this, is validate their decision, stay on their radar so they actually remember to show up and want to show up. So the way we ensure that they want to show up is by delivering some value emails. So the first email we're going to do, and we're just going to go through this little chart here, is you're going to want to send a confirmation email. And this is normally going to be done through your webinar software. So whatever webinar software you wind up using, I'll do some other videos on the different webinar softwares out there. We're just going to focus on the emails themselves here. Is you just want to say, hey, thanks for signing up. Here's your registration link. Here is your date and time for the webinar. And here's what you're going to learn on the webinar. Now, it might seem a little strange to do that, because on the webinar registration page or landing page, you told them what the webinar was going to be about. And seemingly they liked what you had to say on that page, so they signed up. Now in this email, you're going to essentially deliver those benefits, again, you'll just say them in a different word. You definitely don't want to copy your landing page bullets verbatim and slap them into an email. But you can say the same thing in a different way. And when you change the way you communicate the same benefit, you'll be able to connect with and reach different parts of your audience. So you'll be saying the same thing, but you'll just be reminding them, hey, here's the benefits of why you signed up. So the second email ties into something I talked about in some previous episodes, and that was creating indoctrination videos. And I'll leave links below to both of those, but just know those two videos are designed to build value and rapport before the webinar starts so that you have a higher chance of them actually showing up, and then they'll be more engaged on the webinar because you've already delivered value and you've got that value equation uneven in your favor, as opposed to being one-on-one when you're just starting on the webinar. And it'll be easier to sell because you'll have the video number 1, video number 2, and then all the value you deliver on the webinar. And then you finally ask for an offer. And it's much easier to ask for money from someone when you've delivered a bunch of value up front. So that kind of equal, what did you ask from them versus what the value you provided. So that's a quick overview of those videos, links below. If you don't have those videos, that's okay. What you're going to want to do here is just say, hey, before the webinar, I want you to go check out this video, this blog post, this YouTube webcast, whatever it is that delivers some value and then possibly handles objections they might have about what you're going to talk about on the webinar. So that's what you're going to do with Build Rapport 1 and Build Rapport 2. Now, depending upon the webinar software you use, these two emails you might actually do in your autoresponder. And I'll get into that in a little bit towards the end of the video because I have Clickfunnels and I'll show you how I split these up. So that's what you're going to do with number 1 and number 2. And of course, a note on number 2 is if you don't have another piece of content, you can just have that reminding them to go watch what was in rapport number 1. But if you do that, you want to make sure your autoresponder is set up so that that only goes to people who didn't open the first email, if that wasn't confusing enough. Actually, that's really simple email automation. You can get really crazy, but essentially, if you don't have lots of pieces of content to send these people, rapport building email number 1 and number 2 can actually deliver the same thing. You just won't deliver the second email if they open the first one because they might miss it because they have thousands of emails. Lots of people are going to miss some of these emails. That's why we're sending 7 of them before they show up to the webinar. So once you've done that, you're kind of done with the validation of, hey, signing up for this webinar was a good idea. So next you're going to roll into the reminders and you're going to wind up doing 4 of them. Now, depending on the time between when they sign up and when they show up, you might have a little less, but you definitely don't want to go more. And so these reminders I've set up to go the day of. So you're going to have one go out super early in the morning, so it's at the top of their inbox whenever they wake up or whenever they check their email. Then you're going to have one go out a couple of hours before. Then you can do one a few minutes before, and you can do one after the webinar has started. So that's why 3 is blank here, because it depends on what you do. You could have it 1 at 5 a.m., 1 at 12, 1 at 3, and then the webinar is at 5 or something like that. And what all you're going to do in these reminder emails and say, hey, the webinar is going to be in 2 hours, or it's going to be in 5 hours, or hey, the webinar is today. If you're sending it, super early in the morning, here's your registration link, here's the date and time, and here's P.S. I'm going to be doing XYZ. That's why I really want you to show up. If it's live, emphasize that it's going to be live. Most of the webinars I'm starting with are live because I need to split test and get feedback from the audience. So I'm going to be able to say they're live. And then if you're not doing replays, which I personally recommend, then you're going to want to put at the bottom, there will be no replay, because you really want people to show up to the webinar as opposed to, I'll just watch the replay sometime. But if you say there's no replays and then follow through on that and actually not have a replay, then you can, in your post-webinar sequence, you can funnel people back in who didn't go to the webinar to show up, but that'll be another episode when we figure all that out. And what's really cool is with the last reminder email, I've seen it done both ways. I haven't split tested this, but I've seen it done 5 minutes before, like, hey, we're on in 5 minutes, let's go. Or I've also seen it done where an email is sent 15 minutes after the webinar has started, because in the first 15 minutes, depending on the formula you're using, you're going to be in the introduction. You're going to be in the introduction, so the value hasn't necessarily been delivered yet. So you're just going through that rapport building. So they might miss some of the rapport stuff, but they'll still get the meat of what you're providing on the webinar. So you can do something where you just go, dude, where are you at? Like, the webinar's on and I noticed you aren't there. We miss you. You know, it's a sad face emoji. Depending on your niche, that may or not be good, a good fit, but just gets the point across that you can have a little bit of fun with this, and the more personal, the better. So over here, you can see an example of one of these emails, and this was done through Clickfunnels. It just says, hey, first name, just shot a brand new video for you. And I created this image in Canva. I just took one of the slides from the video and I dropped it into one of Canva's video templates, and then changed the color here for branding. Took like 5 minutes. I don't know Photoshop at all. I've tried and failed. So Canva's definitely a great way to go to make basic shots. And you'll notice I just go down and say it's a couple minutes, gives you some insight on what's going to be covering. We're going to be covering on the webinar. Hey, you should click it here. It'll autoplay for you there. And I got that phrasing from Frank Kern, didn't come up with that, but I'm definitely going to split test that to see, because I know some people really get jarred by things autoplaying, especially because they always think, oh, it's a sales video. So you say, hey, it's autoplay here, and make sure it's not a sales video, because you don't want to tarnish your webinar attendance rates. And then I have some PSs and PPS. So moving along here, the second rapport building email is very, very similar. It's even shorter. Did the same thing in Canva. It is a different video, and I just kind of kept the style the same for branding. Don't really know if that matters or not, but there you go. And just saying, hey, it's about 12 minutes. You can watch it here. Give a time can be a great thing to provide, because then you're not setting someone up for, I don't really want to click this because it might be one of those like 45-minute VSLs and it's going to sell me something. But hopefully with the second video, they know that you're actually just going to provide value to them, as opposed to trying to sell them something before they've even showed up to the webinar. And you can see here, I say, PS, you're all set to go, and I'll send you some reminders before it starts. It's great to start your first couple of emails in the sequence by saying, I'm going to send you reminders, to let them know to expect reminders. So when they get them, you're like, oh yeah, he said he was going to send those. Even if my registrant reads this and goes, oh, I hate it, like how many webinar things is he going to say? At least they can expect it, even if they don't really want it. And then PPS, show up on time, ready to go, because there will be no recorded replay. And again, that's building a sense of scarcity, in that this isn't something you can just not show up to and still get the value. If I'm going to be there live, I'd like you to be there live. I'm not going to do the whole replay thing. And depending on your niche, you might want to put a earnings or income or claims disclaimer at the bottom of your email. Because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not going to go into it at all. Just saying, probably something you should look into, not giving legal advice whatsoever. So I'm going to scroll down here to the reminder emails. So these are kind of the little plain Jane boring ones, but they are just as important as the rapport building ones, because they're going to make sure your attendant remembers to show up. So this is an example of one. I'll just go through one, because it'd be boring if I went through 5 or 6 different versions of these, right? But you're essentially just saying, hey, there's a meeting today. The subject line, I like collecting names so I can be a little more personable. If you don't have a name, you could just say, our meeting today, or something to that effect. We're all set for the meeting today. We'll go for about 90 minutes, and then we'll have a live part to answer any questions. Obviously, if it's not live, or you've recorded a live one and you're doing one of those evergreen things and you're going to have the live thing with the fake chat, well then, not cool. Anyway, you insert your webinar link here, and then we're going to be covering all these aspects, and then just give a couple of quick bullet points on what they're going to get. So again, you're reminding them why they signed up in the first place, because it's not unreasonable for them to go, why did I sign up for this webinar? Like, what is it going to be about? And then they'll go through here and like credibility, authority, Amazon's secret weapon. Oh, okay, yeah, I kind of remember that. I guess maybe I'll show up. And of course, they're going to get a couple more of these, and hopefully around the webinar time, they actually remember, or they actually added it to their calendar and they show up. So what's cool about this is the reminder emails are what you want to use with your webinar software, because your webinar software will be able to integrate with your autoresponder and send these out for you automatically at the right times. So you're going to want to set these up independent of your rapport building videos. And I say that because your webinar software is going to be smart enough to know when to send these emails at what time. The rapport building videos will be in your autoresponder, and depending on when they signed up for the webinar, it might not match up perfectly. So that's why I have these in two separate places, so that I know the reminder emails go out when they need to. And if the rapport building emails come a little too early or too late, that's okay, because I'm just delivering content and value to them. And it's not going to really mess up that process of getting someone to show up. So it's more like a cherry on top, as opposed to an essential part of, I need reminder number one, and then rapport number one, and then reminder number two, and rapport number two, or something like that. Definitely don't need to get that anal retentive when you're just starting out. So I just wanted to show you here in Clickfunnels, I just have my two rapport building emails here. And I actually combined the first, why are you loading so slow? I actually combined the confirmation and rapport building number one, because I made a introduction video that included that rapport aspect. Later on down the road, when I have more time, I might split it up and have actually 2 or 3 rapport building emails. But for now, I've just set it up so that it goes out when someone's added to the list. And definitely, if you're looking for a all-in-one solution when it comes to delivering webinars, having landing pages, and getting autoresponders to all talk to each other and work correctly, can't recommend Clickfunnels enough. So that does it for this episode. I hope you got some value out of it and have a better idea of what to do to get people to show up to your webinar, how to build that essential element that is rapport to help you sell your products and services on your webinar, and have your attendees just be more receptive to your overall message and brand. So if you got some value out of this video, please go ahead and hit that like button, and then subscribe for more business building tactics and marketing strategies just like these. Like I said in the beginning, I'm going from A to Z on how to build a complete and functional webinar sales funnel and consulting practice online from scratch. So we're on episode 14 right now. I'd encourage you to go back and watch some of the other episodes. Pick and choose which ones seem to have topics that are relevant to your business today. And I look forward to seeing you around the channel. And in the comments section, just ask any question you have about building an online business and making money online. No push button BS stuff. This is all real marketing tactics for real businesses and people who want to build a real successful business online, not just make some crazy cash machine or something silly like that. I'm rambling now, so I'm going to let you guys go. Build the business you love. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.